Hi and welcome to MTG Managed Good, and today M15 is almost fully spoiled, not really fully spoiled, but tons of cards are being spoiled. So first up, let's look at the very awesome card that is being reviewed, and it is our 5 Blank. Yep, the name is half review. I have no idea why this is so, but it's our 7/2 plant elemental creature for 6 mana, and when this dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner control at the beginning of his or her next upkeep. So basically it's a 7/2 that keeps coming back to the battlefield, and yeah, there you go, a 7/2 creature, so it's pretty easy to get rid of. A shock for 1 red mana will just destroy it, but it keeps coming back, so pretty awesome. At minimum, it'll give you a 7/2 blocker every single turn after it dies, so pretty awesome. No idea what its real name is. I guess we'll find out later, and no idea why this was spoiled this way. But anyway, the next card that we have is Reclamation Sage, our 2/1 Elf Shaman for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. This card, guys, I think this card is super duper awesome. It's a 2/1 body, and you can get to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and with Teros being an enchantment deck, this card is extremely valuable, it's extremely mana efficient, and yeah, I think this will be very, very standard playable. And on to our next card, which is Burning Anger, our enchantment aura for 5 mana. You enchant creature, and enchanted creature has tapped. This creature deals damage equals to its power to target creature or player. So, yeah, pretty nice. I guess this might see play in green-red monsters. Wouldn't see in red aggro, as all the creatures are pretty small in their power. Green red monsters is one of the best deck to put this in, I guess. And of course, there's a possibility of putting this in EDH, where all the creatures are extremely big, and putting this on one of those extremely huge creatures will be terrifying. So, Burning Anger. Next card that we are looking at is Paragon of Fierce Defiance, our 2/2 human warrior for 4 mana. Other red creatures gets +1/+1, and you can tap 1 red, tap another target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. So basically this is your red creature lord. I think this is okay. A 4 mana cast for a red deck is meh. So there you go, is one of the cards in the cycle of color lords. And our next card is Paragon of Open Graves, the black version. Our 2/2 Skeleton Warrior for 4 mana. Other black creatures you control gets +1/+1, and you can tap 1 generate 1 black. Another target black creature you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. And this compared to the red one is so much better. Giving your creature +1/+1 is already good, and giving them Death Touch is extremely annoying. So there you go. And the next one that we have is Paragon of Gathering Mist, our 2/2 Human Wizard for 4. And other blue creatures you control gets +1/+1, and you can tap 1 blue and tap another target blue creature you control gains Flying until end of turn. So again, I think this Paragon for the blue version is also quite good. And on to our next Paragon is our Paragon of New Dawns, our 2/2 human soldier for 4 mana. Other white creatures you control gets +1/+1, and for its ability, other target white creature you control gains Vigilance. So there you go. This sorry, there's one more. Our green Paragon of Eternal Vows, our 2/2 human druid for 4. Other green creatures you get +1/+1, and you can pay 1 green, tap, and another target green creature you control gains Trample. So that's the full cycle of all the Paragons in our M15 set. I think they are pretty interesting. They all cost 4 mana, which is pretty weird. Giving some of the colors card 4 mana is a pretty interesting CMC for them to be in. But there you go. So next card that we'll be looking at is Infernal Feast. Enchant creature you control, and it gets +2/+2. You can tap red, sacrifice this enchantment, and it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And with this enchantment, I think is pretty awesome. And along with the Teros block, this itself is an enchantment, so it triggers a constellation. And for enchantment, casting it on a heroic creature, it triggers a heroic effect. And on top of that, it gets +2/+2, and on top of that, you can just pay 1 red, and it deals 2 damage to target creature. I think this card is quite standard playable. It might be our next Madcap skills, in fact. And let's take a look at our next card, which is Covenant of Blood, our sorcery spell for 7 mana, and it deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 4 life. So basically our Warcaller Helix, sort of, or our Lightning Helix, but it's our black version, which costs an insane amount of life. And again, there's a new mechanics being revealed here, which is Convoke. And if I'm not wrong, Convoke is actually a mana sort of ability. So for Convoke, you can tap creatures that you control, they are untapped, instead of paying the specific amount of mana cost. So for example, on this card, Covenant of the Blood, it costs 6 generic and 1 black mana. So instead of paying that 1 black mana, you can just tap one of your untapped black creatures to pay for that 1 mana instead. And for every other creature that you tap, you can of course just use it to pay for the generic mana cost. So that is how Convert works. So instead of tapping your lands, you tap an untapped creature, and whatever that creature color is, you add that color to your mana pool. So yep, Convoke mechanics is back. So I guess that is maybe what's coming back for the next set also. Convoke, I'm not really very sure about this. So anyway, this is what Convoke means. And on to our next card, we have our Rot Feastal Maggot, our 3/3 insect for 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature card from a graveyard, and you gain life equals to that card's toughness. So pretty nice card for your dredge deck for graveyard play, and or against graveyard play as well. And exiling target creature card from a graveyard, it doesn't have to be yours. So pretty nice. And on to our next card being spoiled for M15 is our Frost Lynx. Our 2/2 Elemental Cat for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent control. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So basically, sort of your half Frost Breath but with a 2/2 body. So pretty nice. This is quite standard playable also, I guess. And on to our next card, we have our Coral Barrier, our 1/3 war for 3 mana with Defender. It enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 blue squid creature token with Island Walk onto the battlefield. So pretty interesting card. Getting a Defender 1/3 for 3 mana is okay. And on top of that, you get a 1/1 blue squid with Island Walk. Pretty flavorful, pretty interesting. Don't know how it will work out. Not sure which synergy it will work with. But there you go. It is your Coral Barrier. And on to our next card, we have our Chasm Skulker. That's quite hard to pronounce. It's our 1/1 squid horror creature for 3 mana. So a horror creature type has made a comeback. We don't see them much often. So whenever you draw a card, you put a 1/1 counter on a Chasm Skulker. When Chasm Skulker dies, put X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk onto the battlefield where X is the number of +1/+1 counter on a Chasm Skulker. I think this card is extremely interesting. It's a 1/1 squid horror and it deals with card draw mechanics. So every single turn you put a 1/1 counter on it, and when it dies, it just spawns like tons of squids with Island Walk. And I can see this in play for commanders and yeah, in my Nekusa deck. So drawing cards every single turn and putting +1/+1 counter on this is pretty nice. And when it dies, I get that much squid with Island Walk. And in commander, pretty much tons of players are playing blue just for the control mechanics. And having Island Walk on all my 1/1 blue squid token creatures will be very, very interesting and pretty annoying. So there you go, that's our Chasm Skulker. And on to our next card, we have our Military Intelligence. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, you draw a card. So pretty interesting card, Military Intelligence. Typical blue card for card drawing mechanics, and this works with creature attacking. And with our Mono Blue Devotion for our Standard Heroes deck now, I think this is pretty nice for our blue aggro. So no idea how it will work out, but keep a look out on this card. And next one we have our Quickling, our 2/2 Fairy Rogue for 2 mana with Flash and Flying, and when it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return another creature you control to its owner's hand. I think this card is extremely good. It's a 2/2 Flash Flyer for only 2 mana, and yeah, returning another creature you control back to your hand is not that much of a downside, especially in Tail set we have a lot of heroic mechanics that you can just trigger, or you can trigger your Constellation again and again. So I think Quickling is a very, very interesting card, and I think this is very standard playable. So next card that we have is Indulgent Tormentor, our 3/3 demon card for 5 mana with Flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless target opponent sacrifice a creature or pays 3 life. So I guess this is the brother of the Master of Feast. This is a teen version of it for Master of Feast. Your opponent draws a card and it's a fat body for extremely low amount of mana. And this is the reverse. It is a 3/3 body for 5 mana, so it's the opposite of Master of Feast. And instead of your opponent drawing a card, you draw a card unless your opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. So pretty interesting comparison between Master of Feast and Indulgent Tormentor. I think this card is pretty good, pretty interesting, and works. And also works very well with the Nekusa deck as your commander. And with both Master of Feast and this in play, you are just being extremely annoying with your card draws and giving your opponent a very, very hard time deciding whether the card draw is worth it. And on to our next card, we have our Void Snare, our sorcery spell for 1 blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So basically this is your unsummon at sorcery speed, but instead of just returning creature cards, you can return any non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So Void Snare. And on to our next card, we have our Mark by Honor. Our Enchantment Aura for 4 mana enchant creature, it gets +2/+2 and has Vigilance, pretty much a very vanilla card. So moving on, we have our, again, blank, Master Polymorphis, our 2/2 Human Wizard for 4 mana, you can pay 3 and 1 blue, tap, sacrifice another creature, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card, put that card onto the battlefield and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Very, very cool card mechanics, a very, very interesting ability. I think it works quite interestingly with, what's that card called? Hero's Podium, that lets you search for legendary creatures, but this lets you search for non-legendary creatures. So you could use that to search for these, and then use these to search for something that is extremely big that usually you wouldn't be able to hardcast it. So there you go, Master Polymorphis, Human Wizard. Let us know what you think of this card in the comments below. I think this card is very, very interesting, might see some synergic play. And on to our next card, we have our Serral of the Masses. Our Star sorcery spell for 7 mana with Convoke, Flying, and Serral of the Masses power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. I think this card has a very, very interesting card type. It is firstly a sorcery spell with a creature's power and toughness. So yeah, I'm not sure whether Wizards made a mistake with this card or there's something that I do not know. Correct me if I'm wrong. This card shouldn't be a sorcery card type, and weird. It's just very, very weird. And of course again, Convoke. mechanics is on this card, so instead of paying mana by tapping your lands, you can tap the amount of creatures that is untapped on your battlefield to pay for the mana instead. So you tap a white creature, you add 1 white mana to your mana pool to cast this specific spell. So that's Convoke, and that's Server of the Masses. And a pretty cool card with your white winning deck, your white token decks, or your black-white token decks. So pretty cool. And next card that is spoiled is Flash to Dust, our instant spell for 5 mana, destroy target creature. It can be regenerated, so pretty basic. Our very high mana casting removal spell for black. Every single set you see this that is not really playable, but this card at 5 mana is not that huge a mana cost, might be good. And next up we have our Triplicate Spirits, our sorcery spell for 6 mana, again with the Convoke mechanics. Put 3 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. So there we go, and on to our next card we have our Cruel Sadis, our 1/1 human assassin for 1 black mana. You can pay 1 black, pay 1 life, tap it, and you put a +1/+1 counter on Cruel Sadis, and you can pay 1 generate 1 black, tap, remove X +1/+1 counter, and you do X damage to target creature. So basically very similar to our Doomwake Giant, but Doomwake Giant works in a way. Now that I think of it, not really similar, but yeah, maybe it is similar to like the Royal Assassin instead, but this one you need to remove counters to do X damage. So pretty interesting. It's a rare card. I don't think this is very good. It's basically a third turn, or yeah, it's a third turn 2/2 creature, and it's a 4th turn. It's just too slow with its tap, and it comes in with summon sickness. So meh, Cruel Sadis, I don't see any good stuff happening about it, but yeah, let me know if I'm wrong in the comments below. And next card that we have is Shadow Cloak Vampire, our 4/3 vampire for 5 mana. You can pay 2 life, and it gains flying until end of turn. So pretty standard for vampires. And next we have our Resolute Archangel, our 4/4 angel for 7 mana with flying. When it enters the battlefield, if your life total is lower than your starting life total, it becomes your starting life total. This card, guys, I think this is our next Archangel of Tune. It is not as good, but this is bonkers late game. If you are playing control, blue, white control, whatever control, late game you do not really you don't have to care for your life. You put it onto the battlefield. If it's not countered, you start back at 20 life, and yep, extremely annoying, extremely annoying. And maybe with some flicker mechanics, basically you are just unkillable. So Resolute Archangel, pretty nice. And our next card is a Mercurial Pretender, our 0/0 shapeshifter for 5 mana. You may have this enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control, except it gains pay 2 generate 2 blue, return this creature to its owner's hand. So basically your clone with returning back to hand ability. So yeah. And next card we have our Siege Dragon, our awesome 5/5 flying dragon for 7 mana. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all walls your opponents control, and whenever it attacks, if your opponent control no walls, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying defender player's control. So pretty flavorful. It's a Siege Dragon, so makes sense that when it enters the battlefield, destroy all walls. So might see some walls in the core set, and might see some walls in the upcoming new set, Khans of Tarkir, and especially being a Mongolian or Barbarian team set, I would think that there'll be quite a number of wars in that set. And yep, take my word, Phoenix, the god of deception with wars, would be very awesome. Might be a far or tough speculation here, but I'm keeping my hopes up for Phoenix. But there you go, this Siege Dragon. And next card, we have our Avarice Amulet, our artifact for 4 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has Vigilance. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. When equipped creature dies, target opponent gains control of Avarice Amulet, and with an equipped cost of 2. This card is, again, a very interesting card. I think M15 and the upcoming sets might have a lot of these kind of mechanics where it gives you a lot of advantage, but there's a lot of downside, and there's a lot of drawbacks for using cards like this. For example, Master of Feast is one example. The other Black Demon that lets you draw a card, but it's something like that. And for this Avarice Amulet, giving you extremely good advantage in card draw and getting your creature +2/+2. But the downside is if your creature dies, it's pretty much quite annoying situation to face. So there you go. And the next card is Goblin Rebel Master, our 2/2 Goblin Warrior for 3 mana. Other goblin creatures you control attack each turn if able. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste onto the battlefield. Whenever this attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking goblin. So people who plays Goblin Tribal deck, rejoice! This is the card that you'll be waiting for. I think this card is extremely awesome for Goblin Tribal decks. And yeah, prepare for a rise in all other Goblin cards. I think Goblin Tribal is quite playable in Modern actually. And with this card around, I think it'll be even more playable. Getting 1 red Goblin creature token with haste on the battlefield whenever and every combat is super awesome. And with the addition of if you're playing Goblin Grenade, that is just like 5 damage for 1 red mana every single combat, which is super crazy. So yeah, there you go, your Goblin Rebel Master. And for our next card, we have our Soul of Ravnica, our avatar creature for 6/6. casting cost of 6 as well. With flying, you can pay 3 and 2 blue, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. And you can pay 3 and 2 blue, exile these from your graveyard, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So there you go, Soul of Ravnica, very interesting card. And that's it for this week's M15 cards being spoiled. Let us know in comments below what you think of all of them. I think M15 is an awesome core set. Tons of cards that are very powerful, very flavorful. So let us know in comments below. And that's it for this episode. As always, like support channel. Please do hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.